Nicollet County, 10 years ago, we used to use these old cutting edges. They have the impregnation on the front with the carbide insert. And what we were noticing with the two cutting edges here, we were getting about 3 weeks tops in severe storm situations in the January, February months. So the operators were then asking if there's a different product out there for us. So we started researching, and with our supplier, we actually came to a new product that was hitting the market, which was this one, which is a snow shock. And what makes the snow shock cutting edge unique compared to the older one is it actually has a bushing to help with the friction. And instantly we could tell we were going to get a much longer use out of these cutting edges. So the old ones we were getting about 3 weeks. The new ones, within the first 2 years, we were seeing 1.5 to 2 years on front plows. And from there, we went to the underbodies with the same size, and we were getting anywhere from 1.5 to 2 years again. What we also noticed with the older style blades is when the operators would come in, it could be in the middle of the day of a storm. If they were out 2-3 times already on their route, they would have to actually change these out. The truck would be full of ice, everything would be cold, and we'd have probably at least half an hour to 45 minutes of downtime, where with the snow shocks, we can have a much better plan. And if we have to switch them out, we can switch them out the day before the storm, because we know the longevity of the blade is going to be, that 2 years roughly. The cost difference between the older style that we had to the snow shocks is about an 18% increase. However, with that 2-year up to 4-year life cycle, it justifies getting that initial upfront cost, paying that for the life of the blade. Moving forward, we are trying the new Yomas. They've been on the market for a while now. What makes this unique is it's all rubber, much lighter to install. So if you have one guy installing them, not that big of a problem anymore. But with the gravel roads in Nicollet County, it makes it tough for trucks that actually have routes with gravel on them, because it does not have a protective face on it.
All right, so these are our snow shocks on the front plow. Front plow takes 3 4-footers. This faceplate over the top goes over the top of these pucks. It helps hold the bolt in there to keep it in place. Since we get the longevity out of these, approximately 2 years, sometimes the bolts are so rusted on, our operators have to cut them in order to replace edges. The snow shock has this faceplate with these circles. These circles are a good gauge to look at to see where you're at as far as your wear on your edge. I have a 1-footer here. It shows that the carbide goes approximately halfway through those small circles on the faceplate of the edge, which is a good gauge to figure out if your edges are wore or not. Once again, our snow shocks we also use on our underbodies. To mount them on the underbody, it takes 2 4-footers and a 3-footer. And you need a backer plate that matches the curvature of your underbody, which is a starter strip. Then you have your edge, and then you have that same face plate which holds your bolts. There again, you're using the same edge, so you have the same circles to watch as far as your wear depth. And when we're halfway through that wear depth, then we transition our edges to our wings. So from my experience running a truck with an underbody, on your different types of road surfaces, whether it's concrete or bituminous, we do a heavy seal coat, a large seal coat rock, which creates a really hard surface. And you have to watch the pressure you apply, which there's a gauge in the cab that tells you how much pressure you're placing on the underbody, because on our old edges, you could burn these edges on your underbody within 1 round. And now with the snow shock, they'll last a full season, possibly 2. It's just managing that pressure So you can see this is our wing. When we change out our edges from our front plow or our underbody, if there's any life left in these edges, we save them and place them on our wing. You have the same mounting plates, the same edge, the same backer plates. So this is an edge that has almost full circles to the edge that has about half circle to one that's no carbide left and completely gone. This edge will still cut, even though there's no carbide left, but it is just steel. It's going to wear faster. And once we move them from our plows to our wing, this is a way that we recycle them to continue using them, save money, save our taxpayers money, and get the most life we can out of them.